Okay, we should be live now.
Okay.
Or it's actually, I think, okay, now meeting is live streamed. So I'm just going to see if we are on. And I'm going to make it quiet. Yes, we are on. All right, so let me just organize myself. Hi, Vicky.
Hello.
Okay. Do we have anybody? We have one person, or maybe not. Maybe that's us. I don't know. Let me just quickly share on YouTube that we are live now.
Okay.
Smile, Victoria. Oh, wait, it's pointing on me. Okay, live now. Join us. Hi, everyone. If anybody's here, sorry, like this is not ignoring you. I'm just sharing on Instagram that we are about to go live now. And blah, 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 blah. How do I do that? Copy link. Okay. Is it this link?
Are we live? Are we alone?
I think we are live.
Yeah.
I can see us live. Okay. Oh, okay, Mel, thanks. But can you hear us? Melanie is here. She's going to be in and out. She's cooking dinner.
Hello,
Yeah, maybe
Mel.
the timing might be
us.
perfect, but you know, it is what it is. And I think there is a little delay. So whatever we say now, you know how it is. It's always a bit later on YouTube. But anyway, I'm going to start and introduce you, Vicky. So I don't know if people know you, but you are Victoria Matthews.
Yes.
You wrote the book to Oracle Door, and co-created this oracle together with Melissa Wotherspoon, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah. Melissa Wotherspoon is probably familiar to people who have the Lonely Dreamer Tarot, because that was her first project, which was with the artwork of Odilon Redden. And then two of you have made this oracle deck, right?
Yes.
I didn't mix it up.
No, not at all. Yeah.
So you, Victoria, have background in visual arts.
Yes.
And I would love you to tell us, shed some light. This is the cards I actually pulled for us. So I pulled some cards from the Lonely Dreamer Tarot, and I asked the cards, what should I ask Victoria today? So the first card that I got was the Sun. So, you know, this could be seen on so many levels, but I thought I'm going to ask you to enlighten us a little bit of how did you get to work with Melissa Wotherspoon? Was it your love for Odilon's art, or, you know, like how you can tell us the story and enlighten us? How did you guys started working together? And then after we say this, I would love you to tell us a little bit more about the usage of light, or maybe what you think about Odilon's art and how it works with light. Because when I saw this Sun, I thought like, ask about light in the oracle. And then the second card that I got was Knight of Pentacles. So because it's Knight of Pentacles, knights are always on the mission, and this is the slowest of them, right? Even though it's still a knight, it has a horse, it's quite fast, but it keeps moving. And I always think of this as a process. So maybe you can take us through, how did you, both of you, because you live in different continents as well, right? Like you in England and Melissa is in America.
Yeah,
so
and 8 hours apart. Yeah.
Yeah, how did you work together? And then I got the Ace of Pentacles, and I think that's an interesting card to pull, because you actually contributed this Ace of Pentacles card, not this one, but an Ace of Pentacles card to the new edition of
this one.
Lonely Dreamer Tarot. So
yeah, so that
Right.
this is the rise of me in with Melissa, working with Melissa. I contributed this design. I sent it to her one day and I said, hey, what do you think about this for the Ace of Pentacles? And she said, yeah, let's put it in. So I know some people prefer the original, that's fine, but you have this other option, and it's being playful with Odilon's artwork, and just I like this one because it was something blooming, it was seed-like, and
Something alive.
I enjoyed that. Whereas this one, it's more practical. It really is on the earthly terrain, and that works equally well as well.
Yeah. That's really cool that I pulled it, because obviously we maybe needed to see the difference between Ace of Pentacles in the first edition and in the second edition. I just have to I just have to change something here because it keeps shutting down my vision and display. Blah, blah, blah. Never. Okay. Sorry.
It would also be lovely to have any questions. I'm always interested to know.
If there will be any questions.
If there's any, and if there's anything that people have seen in the cards, or they work really well for them, or they don't work so well, it would be lovely to hear that too.
Cool. Okay.
So the first question was how did I get to work with Melissa? Well, so it's really through Kickstarter. I was a backer on the first Kickstarter campaign, and anyone who has been on one of Melissa's Kickstarter campaigns will know that I think she's one of the the best at doing it. She's really inclusive. She updates a lot. They're fun. They're lively. And she often has polls and votes. You get to vote for different cards, this and that. So she's really super approachable as well. And I just started communicating with her, and perhaps I was getting a bit nerdy, but we were kind of sharing ideas about the imagery, and I was making suggestions even in the early days, as lots of people were anyway, because she is that inclusive. But it kind of burgeoned as a friendship. She's the same age as we're the same age. She's the same age as well. And so we just had a lot in common. And then one day she said, I'm really thinking about creating an oracle, and would you mind contributing? So I thought, oh yeah, sure, because I'll just be, having a look at a few of the cards and saying, I like this, or perhaps, try this, or whatever it was going to be. And then at some point she got back to me and she said, no, I mean 50-50. I went, oh, okay. So that's how it started. And she's in Canada, and we really work through email.
Sorry, I made you American, Melissa. You in Canada?
She's Canadian. Yeah, she's up in Canada. Canadian,
yeah. So were you always a fan of Odilon Redon's art?
Yes, I was. When I was back in school, I had a load of postcards, really of the pastels and the oils, and I didn't love them then, but they always kind of stuck with me. And he's not a very well-known artist, not as well known as he should be anyway, because he's really, for people who don't know, he's pre-symbolist movement. It was a really important time so he was working in late 19th century France, and really he was at the forefront of a group of artists that were really trying to get at the inner truth through symbolism. So they were against recreating what you could see already, because they thought that whatever you see is already tainted by the way you see it anyway. So they were going against the mainstream, and he was very important at that stage. So I knew that, but it was just, I think what happened is when Melissa created this deck, it was really nostalgic, and I'd seen all these images, and I thought, wow, this really lends itself to a tarot. This is beautiful. So
I find his art really haunting. So I find myself that sometimes, I can't even use it because it's too much. Mm-hmm. And then at other times when I'm in the mood, it's just the most beautiful thing, that it just soothes me, even it's not depressing or putting me down or making me melancholic. But when I'm in the mood for it, it just makes me wow, like it wows me, you know, it just makes me go like, oh, amazing. But it's one of those decks through his art mostly, you know, not to play like at what you guys did, but through his art that like I personally, like this is not a deck I can use like, oh, on every day, anytime. Like it's very kind of, this artwork just like influences me in this way that when I'm not ready for it, it just, yeah, it kind of, it's like, no, I don't fucking want to see you because you make me like,
yeah, I mean,
weird me out.
yeah, Red On really was opening doors into the subconscious realm, really, in many ways. I mean, his artwork, it's indeterminate. It's you don't quite know where you stand with it. You look at it, it's haunting, it's dark. You know, why are so many things happening? I think that is why I got so interested and fascinated. Like, how does this artwork lend itself to an oracle? And the way I went about it was through an art historical approach. I didn't want to just look at the cards and apply, you know, my imagined readings. I really researched very deeply into the era, into his life, and, you know, what did those cards mean to him, and what did they mean to his contemporaries? What did they mean to people at the time? So there are lots of images of Greek gods. Isis is in there. Isis was there was a cult of Isis in the late 19th century. So many, there were lots of occult groups burgeoning at the time as well, and Spiritism was very popular then. And
which one is Isis?
Isis is actually, I call her Isis, but it's actually the veil. And this was a really difficult card to write, actually, because it is Isis and it's Horus as well. But this can mean so many different things. But it pertains to the way we actually we see nature. Isis represents nature, and sometimes things are veiled from. We can't understand things. We're not in the right place necessarily to really understand what it is we're seeing. And sometimes that's really about adjusting our acceptance of things. So rather than putting our kind of interpretation or our knowledge onto something, it's to allow something to be, to let something unfold. And when you do that, and I write all about this in the book, so it's clearer there, but when you do that, things can reveal themselves in the most beautiful ways that you didn't intend. So it's kind of a bit like switching off your mind and not having judgment, not working, you know, trying to let go of stereotypes. So Isis is that, but it can also be rebirth. I mean, she's holding her child Horus, the child god of the sun, and the sun is also behind her. And as the sun rises every day, now her son actually in the story, because this Isis is an illustration for Flaubert's The Temptation of St. Anthony. This is all in the book. It's quite a lot to say about it, really. But anyway, the sun rises and sets every day. So this kind of, like Horus, there's this idea that he will come back to life, and things will go through a cycle, and light, you know, the sun sets, the light comes up again. So rebirth, death and rebirth is in there. So, you know,
sorry, Victoria,
yeah.
Once we hear, and I pulled this sun card, can we speak a little bit about the use of light? And
yes.
I see through, you know, going through the oracle, it's not only Redon's use of light, but also you guys wanted to make, like, illuminate the cards in some way, because you added this beautiful foil, and the cards are amazing. Like, they're so beautiful. Like,
yeah, we're really lucky with how these cards came out. They, you know, I was delighted. They were better than I could have expected. They really are, you know, the beautiful black matte, which is just such a lovely quality. And he was really famous for his blacks. You know, some other artists were really jealous they couldn't get their artwork to be as black as that. You know, so we really wanted to try and get that sense of blackness, but the gold against it, that sort of foil, it does something to these cards. And the reason, what we wanted to do was, we had the sense that Redon was really going through his own individuation process. He was getting to know himself. he was going through this time in life, and this noir period, the stage where he was creating all his blacks, came before all those oils and pastels. And those blacks, creating these images, exhausted him. They really tested his own spirit. But by going through, and he went through some very difficult stages in his life. He was often rejected. He wasn't always liked as an artist. He wasn't really known or becoming an artist until he was in his 40s. And so he was going through a difficult stage. And as like with alchemy, he was bringing out his own inner gold. He was finding his own light within. So we really wanted to find that light that you know, the light that's in darkness, that you find that process of alchemy where you go through difficult times, but through suffering, you learn something new about yourself. You become different. You know, you release ego, and you go through a process whereby there is, your personality is refreshed. It's become something else. So the light is representing this. We didn't know how to do it at first. Melissa had lots and lots of different ideas. She was lead in the design process, and we actually started with prisms of light that were like rainbows, and that started with Chiron, the card Chiron, where there's a flood of light that crashes through his book. There it is. How did you have that at hand so quickly?
Because I have my favorite cards on the site, and he's one of them.
And so this was actually a prism, a rainbow. And what we wanted to do is we wanted to have this rainbow that sort of reached through the entire deck. But it got quite difficult with some of those. But then we came back to this alchemy idea again, and we thought, why not just try foil? And we went for it. Actually, it's quite an expensive process, and we gambled on it a little bit. That it worked.
Yeah, sometimes it doesn't work, and kind of it's jarring, but I think, oh, this deep, I love this card so much. And you're right, like the black is so bloody black, and because of the foil, like the star, like it just gains like nearly a 3D like perspective on the art. So that's really cool.
That's one of my favorite cards, actually, the deep.
Mine too.
And that is because, you know, we are suddenly, you know, in the most creative and fertile part of our imagination with the deep. We go down deep, and where reality and fantasy kind of merge. So yeah, and there's a whole history about.
I thought like maybe we can say, like, because when you purchase the deck, you receive the little booklet with it, and it has interpretation for just like a general oracle use. Like, it's more practical. In the book, which you wrote with contribution of Melissa, it's a lot of like art history research and a lot of contemporary to Odilon Redden times. I don't know, sometimes historical bits and pieces, cultural. You come with different personalities that lived then as well, and kind of weave them, like Edgar Poe and all these people who were around. And could you maybe tell us a little bit more about like what inspired you to go into the effort of writing this huge, like good big sized book about it? And how did you, like, what was your process? Let's touch on that Knight of Pentacles here.
Okay. So it was really quite organic for me. Melissa and I started off by having a grid with lots of the noirs, his black series of cards that we really liked. And we started with keywords, and we'll get back to that. We started with keywords, and we started just trying to, get a sense of, okay, have we kind of, is this a balanced spectrum? Do we have light? Do we have darkness? Because we know that it's a dark deck. It can be haunting. It can be a bit heavy. We wanted to try, and that's another reason for the gold and the light in the deck. But we selected cards, and then I just started researching the hell out of it. Basically, I mean, I've got a whole library of books, and I was reading PhD thesis, and I just started finding all these amazing links between other artists, about Redon's life, and he actually wrote his memoirs. His letters were actually published, and so I had that as a resource as well. And he was actually a really beautiful writer, and there's a lot of quotes from him in the book, which I found absolutely fantastic. And there's a mind that was really, he was really yearning for spiritual enlightenment. I think that's why his work lends itself so well to tarot and oracle, is because he was seeking spiritual enlightenment, and he really wanted to feel that connection with nature, with spirit. And his journey was about that. But the book, I read as much as I could, and I just took notes, and I found fabulous links, just organically put it together. I mean, it kind of worked, but it was just like a process of discovery for me, really. I was on my own sort of. I mean, I called it Unearthing Redon's Gold because Melissa and we kind of had a joke that we were, two miners just with hard hats on, mining and digging deeper, because it was quite an intense process.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah. And one question, like, how many of those black noir images did he make? Like, are we talking hundreds, 70, 200, thousands?
I think it's right at the beginning. It was so many. I'm just wondering if I can just see it straight off here.
It doesn't have to be like a, detailed.
Yeah, I think it was like thousands. I mean,
thousands. So, okay.
Yeah, let's just say thousands, because I know it was a really surprising amount.
Number, yeah. So for you guys to pick, that was also probably quite a process to be able to choose
what we could find. Sorry, it was what we could find that was available with in the public domain, essentially. But already, actually, I have a file full of images for a second edition if we ever get there. I don't know that we will, but these were ones that we just couldn't believe it. We just kept finding more and more. And yeah, so they've gone into a file and with designs if they're ever needed.
So I got the Oracle a couple of months ago. And to be honest, I haven't used it that much, just because I didn't resonate necessarily with his art at this moment. And I know it's going to come because, as I said, whenever I pull it out, I'm like, Jesus, these are beautiful. But I just personally didn't feel this, like that, let's go and use it. And I wanted to ask you about certain keywords, because I'm a practical oracle lady. Like, I read for people. So we talked about it before, but I thought it's interesting for you to share also, because I asked you once, like the keywords that I like, for example, are the keywords like, some of them, I don't know what it depends on, because constellations, you would say, it's the same as saying the dog. But constellations to me means something. So to me personally, so maybe it's very personal, because for somebody seeing the keyword dog, they will be, oh my God, thinking of their dogs, or, dog as a friend, or of course it brings on all these associations. But I love certain keywords, which are adaptation or eclipse or perspective. And I noticed there is quite a mishmash with the keywords. So some are a bit more descriptive, like constriction. Some are humans, like Queen of Sheba, and some are very kind of dog, trees. What was your process of giving these keywords? Because I know it's probably really hard, but what did you kind of base this on?
The keywords were probably the most difficult part of this deck, and part of the reason for that is because Odilon Redon, he really hated labels, and he hated his work being labeled. He hated being labeled himself, and I almost felt like it's really naughty to even try and label these artworks, and should this just be a deck that it's just the imagery. But we really wanted to make an oracle and really have the words, and that's why I did the research, really, to try and get the right keywords. I mean, the keywords that I've created are really, they've taken a lot of time and thought. I understand what you're saying about some of those descriptions are food for the imagination, really. You get two different ideas. You get the visual and then you get another idea like adaptation, and it really pulls your imagination in. And then the dog, yes, you see the dog, and it is the dog. It's you're seeing, it's but the reason for that, I mean, that if you read the book, you can really start seeing where that image has come from, what the story is behind that dog. That dog is actually a dog that was a companion for a chap who is from a story called the Haunted and the Haunters, I think it is. And Redon was illustrating for this book, and this dog is taken, he's a very brave dog, he's taken into this haunted house, but as soon as he gets there, his instincts are telling him, he's trying to leave, he's scratching at the door, but the master, for the loyalty to his master, he stays, and he doesn't have a very good ending. So when you see the gold there, that is actually a representation of a rough representation of the nervous system, and this dog is actually all about instinct. And the dog can either represent you, or it can be the dog. It can be the loyal friend. For me, the story that Redon created this dog for is really important, and it really talks about the embodied self and how we connect with our instincts. So, for example, we often, just a simple example, we often sit. If you work in an office, you sit in a desk for a long time and your instincts are telling you need to get up and move around, but then something in there makes you sit down and carry on, and it's not actually healthy for you. And we're becoming sort of disembodied in this day and age, less and less. Our sight, we're over dominated by our sight, by looking. And if you go into the book, I want you, there's suggestions that perhaps you might try new tastes, or you might touch a tree rather than just look at it. It's just trying to be more embodied and more connected with your instincts, which is a healthier way of being. There's some science in the book as well that sort of backs some of that up. The reason why it became the dog is because I sent that image to someone, and I was just playing around with how people were responding to some of the images, and what came back is that kind of Lenormand's relationship, which was our loyalty, a companion, a friend. And I thought, you know what, for some of these images, I don't want to take that possibility away. People from different places in the world might not be able to connect with the image in the way that we might inscribe it. If I had instinct, which is the second, so just to say, in the larger book, there are secondary titles.
And that's what I just wanted to mention. And I love the secondary titles. And I think that's really cool. So the dog has the instinct. And for example, the heart, which I love this, like how he reaches inside his chest for the heart. It says heart knowledge. I love the secondary. I think it's not that I don't like the heart, but it's just like giving this heart knowledge. I don't know. It just already gives me more to work with for that reason. Even though I
think it's a really good point, but we just really didn't want to. I mean, you couldn't ever deny that it's not a dog, so we wanted to allow room for people's own interpretations, and that's what Redon wanted, because that creative process, that oracle, really comes around through your own engagement. And these are decks, because Redon's work is for looking at and to really contemplating and to go in. And I think that's why you say sometimes you just not in the mood for it, because I think his artwork can be exhausting if you really spend time with it. It really takes you to a place. I've read with these cards, and they're, they take you to places. They really they transport you to other worlds, as does Redon's art. And
I think that's really cool. Like, I just jump in, but like, I think that's really cool because we have a lot of oracles which are day-to-day oracles, like, you pull a card and it says, I don't know, drink a cup of tea. And these are great oracles for like, just day-to-day things. Yeah. But this is not one of those decks. This deck is actually a little bit more exclusive like that. Like you have to maybe have like a little bit more quietude around you, and like really, and like go on a shamanic journey with these images, so it's a different type of oracle decks which can take you very deep, as deep as you want, I guess. Like, it's always up to a person who uses it, right?
It really is. And I think that's why we try to be loose enough with the titles that it could be used in multiple ways. But for me, if I'm using it, I'm really going to bring it out when I really want to, when I'm ready to face like a big life, an area in my life that I really need to think and contemplate. And that's not always easy, but I would probably, for me, as I have for friends, and it brings up a lot of conversation. These are really fun for doing with other people, because not only can you talk about the artwork and the symbolism, but you can really get into the sort of depth of what that means. So Eclipse, the second title for that is Ego, and it's all about how our ego can really block the spirit, the light from within, or how our ego is, if someone else is doing better than us, then if we feel jealousy, it's a sign of our ego. Ego has suddenly raised its head, and we need to drop certain ideas about ourselves, and just consider the ego lost the train.
Consider different options. But like
yeah.
I think that's interesting that this image comes out from the eye.
Yeah.
And sometimes, like, what you see, it's not necessarily what's true, or like make your own kind of reality, but it can be eclipsed in some way. Like, it's not necessarily what everyone else is seeing. What comes to mind is like, even like when we talk, like, how do I look, or like how other people see us, it's totally different to how we perceive ourselves in many ways, and we always have this kind of preconceived ideas of how other people see it, but it's usually not true. Like, it's not what other people see. Like, they see it like, oh my God, she's so beautiful, and you look at yourself and you go, what the fuck is wrong with me? I think I need a sip of red wine today.
And so you're measuring, you're being blocked because you're measuring yourself according to what's on the outside, and you're not really holding on to your own personal value and worth, which really comes from the inside. So ego can block that, and that's that's what's happening in that card. So, but eclipse, it can mean, and then it's loose, it can mean lots of other things. And I want people who read with this deck to be playful and to really make it their own.
Yeah, I love this one. Just artistically, I really love it. It's such
that's Melissa's favorite, actually.
It's so like, because of those little kind of foil dots, the cards like feel fairy-like. Like, it's just like really,
it is fairy-like. Yeah,
the ones with the dots are like even the trees, and they just look so cool. I love them, the little dots.
The trees is one of my favorites.
Love that. Well, but tell us first about this one.
Okay, Wildness. So Wildness, secondary title in the book. Now, I always find it a bit harder to talk about the book without being able to read passages, because it goes into some depth, and it goes into some depth about, so there's a part in the book which has 4 cards which relate to Jung's 4 archetypes. Yeah, and this one pertains to shadow. Oh. And so, this character is Caliban from Shakespeare's The Tempest, who was the shadow, essentially, from a Jungian point of view, the shadow of the magician Prospero. And the idea being is that with shadow, what we see, we often, and I know it's been spoken about many times before, but we project what we don't like. Unknowingly, we project what we don't like about ourselves, our baser selves, on others. Caliban is such a creature, and this card is all about actually being kind and accepting of shadow. And if we can actually look and accept our own shadow, then we're going to treat the rest of humanity and other species with a little bit more respect and dignity. So it's about loving Caliban, that little wild imp, and facing our own shadows and seeing our own inner Calibans, really. And it's a signal. Like, if you get that card, it's, read the passages and perhaps think about, how your shadow is emerging. So a really good example is if you're in with your family and you've got one family member that really drives you a bit crazy and you're always clashing, it's probably because there's a trait that you're not liking that actually it's the same in you. Yeah. So it's identifying your inner Caliban, your inner.
Yeah, it's like mirroring it back
that you're projecting on other people.
So this is shadow is the secondary keyword for this one?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And then we were supposed to talk about the trees.
Okay. I loved writing for that.
Let me just.
It's big. There's a lot in the book.
Trees, 26.
Trees. I mean, there is always the little book as well, which has got smaller meanings for all of these. Yeah, and there's 2 pages.
Foundation is the secondary keyword.
Yeah, another page.
Yeah.
What I love about those trees is that when you look at the image, it almost looks as if another tree is so slowly growing and twisting into the other one, so that eventually it might gently just kiss that other tree, you know. And trees are often seen singly, or, you know, a tree, but trees are connected at the roots, and they send messages to each other through their root systems, and so they are communities, and they are together, but they grow so slowly. So this is a card about slowing down, finding foundation, thinking about family. You know, what are your foundations? And if you build good foundations, and if you move slowly and stick with things, like a tree might, then if you notice in the middle, the hollow, the dark space, you notice there's kind of steps leading up into the dark space. It's like you open, like the two come together and you open a new possibility, a new mystical pathway. So I kind of loved that. And with all of his noirs, his trees, and there's a card in the original Lonely Dreamer, which is called Ombre. And there's another one of those trees which has that kind of cavern.
Yeah, okay. I have to ask you about one more card. We're not going to go through all of them, but
no, we can't.
I would love to know about constellations, like from your perspective, like, and why Redon, like, why did he even, was he interested in, I mean, was it more like from celestial perspective, or was he an astrologer?
He was really, I mean, astronomy was really in leaps and bounds in that time. And there were lots of new discoveries. In fact, when he was at war in 1870. There'd been a huge major eclipse. And people were starting, there were new telescopes, and people were starting to understand that there were meteorites. I think meteorites had been recently discovered, and there was this threat that they could just crash into the earth, which of course there always is. And so people were kind of fascinated but fearful of the sky. So he was looking up a lot, and he was fascinated by the sky. But constellations, so the boy in the card is his son. That's I've forgotten what his name is, but it's in the book. That was his son. And he actually, another thing in the book, he actually lost his first child, which so some of the darker phases in his artwork, you know, he went, like I said, he went through a hard time. And that looks like a sextant or some kind of sort of measuring equipment there. And this could either be a bull or a dog or something. I like to think of it as a bull because Redon was actually a Taurus, and I wonder if he was actually creating his own constellation in a way.
It looks like a bull to me.
Playful. Too. Yeah, so I think, well, he was a Taurus, maybe.
Yeah.
But, so the card, the alternative name, I think is I think it's narrative. And it's actually about
personal narrative,
personal narrative. It's actually about this boy, that his potential for his life, and it's about how we live in narrative. So the idea that, you know, people get ideas about us, or we can get ideas about ourselves, and we live according to those narratives about ourselves. We can break those narratives open and we can start again. So if you think of narrative, you know, so when you look at constellations, you can map out your own narrative. You can see your own constellation. And you know, when you see in the sky, once you see a constellation, then you always see it. But the idea is that you can see it, you can discover it, but you also must learn how to sort of let go of that and create new constellations. So it's a very playful card, that one.
Wow. Now, once you started talking about it, suddenly I feel like maybe it's not so depressing as there
is a lot of light in there, but you have to wade, you have to put your boots on and wade through that darkness.
Yeah, it will come. You know, I love it. Like, it's not something that I'm like, oh, dark, I don't like I love those decks. It's just usually it's I have to be in the mood, and I'm one of those people, you know, like I can't, like, if I can't, I can't, like I can't just go there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm terrible. I go from deck to deck, you know, depending on mood. It's, you know, and I need to have those, you know, it surprises me how I can go from one style of deck to another, you know, from something very fanciful and playful to something that's really quite sort of deep and challenging. And maybe that's what this is. Maybe this is more of a challenging oracle. But what's lovely about it is that if you know, when you work with the Lonely Dreamer, the tarot, with that whole phase where most of them are oils and paintings, that he, after the year 1900, he never created another noir. He matured, he felt connected to spirit, he felt lighter, he felt freedom, and he felt like connected with spirit. And so these cards are really from someone who felt very confident and connected. And you know what? To get there, he had to go through these darks, these noirs.
So you said that the darks were before these, yes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, these are amazing. I actually love the color. I mean, I love the noirs as well, but
yeah,
I love the colorful ones. They're beautiful.
I do as well. Yeah, they are beautiful. And, you know, I mean, there's one thing that I find quite fascinating is that through the dark decks, the noirs, you see there's a few cards where there are horses, winged horses. He was fascinated by Pegasus, and Pegasus is often he's strapped down, or he's held, he's bound. But when you look through the history of his art, that horse becomes more and more unbound. There's tenderness in the card tenderness, which is the man lightly touching the horse. He's not restraining him anymore. And when we get to the pastels and the oils, Pegasus is always seen. He's in the sky, he's free, he's flying, and it's beautiful. And I just think that's and for Red On as well, that Pegasus represented the spirit and the imagination. It was his imagination, his freedom sort of manifested in those cards. So there's such a lovely feeling in that Lonely Dreamer. And I should say, actually, Lonely Dreamer, the 3, is in production for people who don't know.
Oh, number 3.
It'll be the last final
edition.
one.
So I've got number 1. The number, can you show number 2 so people can know like what the difference is?
Yeah. Number 3 is, now I haven't been involved with number 3, apart from, of course, I want it. I
know that like number 1 has these bags, like carpet.
And number 2 has
beautiful colors too. Yeah, wow. Love
that one. But number 3 is going to have the same backs as number 1.
Yeah. Oh, it's number 1.
Yeah. Okay. So there's going to be extra cards and new cards, and there's going to be a bigger book as well. And it's in collaboration with the lady from Mindful Tarot, but I can't think of her name right off.
Lisa, meaning not Lisa anymore, Esther.
Yes, I think so.
Esther from Mindful Tarot.
Yeah. So she's working with Melissa on that one. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what they come up with.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. And the last card, and we can slowly close up, is the Ace of Pentacles. And I was just thinking of practical use. Like we said that this is not an oracle. You can, of course, draw from it every day. Why not? It has the little booklet. It has you wrote quite like understandable and like regular meanings to the cards that actually people can use it every day if they want to. But I think also that the deck can, depending on how you like it. Some people love this art and can, draw it every day. Some people, like myself, for example, I know that I have to be in the mood. Mm-hmm. And what would you suggest? Like, how can we use it if we, for example, want to mix it with other decks? Do you have some favorites you mix it with, or you're not a mixer?
No, I do like mixing decks. This one, the way I think it's a really good way to use this is, I edged mine. I think it's really nice to take one, for me to find a theme, some aspect of life.
Let's do it.
Okay, you do it. I'll talk you through it.
You talk. Okay.
So shuffle and to select a card that is a theme that you should look more deeply into.
Okay, so this is for you guys who are watching or re-watching later. So what
and then we can ask a question about it with the Lonely Dreamer. So maybe a 3-card draw from the Lonely Dreamer.
So
they look beautiful together.
theme do you need to look at? You and us, it's for everyone. Are you ready? Noir. What's the...
Oh,
Yeah.
that's a difficult one.
82. I want to
Yeah.
see the keyword.
So that's
Black
part
sun.
of the dark night.
Oh, the black sun. So it's about, in the book, it says connecting to the unconscious. So shadow of this would be lacking a feeling of home or self, hopelessness, a lack of identity, emotional dilution or depletion, the dark night. And I feel like a lot of us might be going through this in this month. I don't know if you feel it, but like so many of my friends or clients, just everybody is a bit like, not freaked out, but like it's a month that a lot of stuff is happening astrologically. And I think also there is some sense of heaviness and like, yeah, hopelessness. Like you look towards the future and it's just looks fucking bleak. But I think that's the shadow of it as well. And like, I'm up for searching for those tiny little, lights. What do you say about this card? Like, how did you...
Yeah, these were extra cards actually for the oracle, the noir. So it's being in part of the dark night of the soul. Yeah, it's when the sun is eclipsed and you can't quite necessarily see your way. What you thought you knew, things are changing, and you don't necessarily have any control over it. You have to kind of, you see a face, there's someone in the water, you're sort of awash with emotions, and you don't quite know how to deal with what's going on at this stage. Things feel a bit oppressive and dark, but the advice in that card is that you need to go with it, and to feel the emotion. You need to feel it. And I think Melissa, with her contribution in this one, was her idea was that with this, when going through this stage, is a time to reflect, to draw, to not be judgmental about what you're doing, to write or draw and to create, and a way to encourage those kind of feelings that you're going through to sort of emerge to the surface so you can actually deal with them. But the point here is that they need to be accepted and they need to come to the surface.
So now should we pull... So if this is our overarching, it must be because I pulled it. And since I connected this oracle deck to noirs for myself, that's what came out. But so now should we pull 3 cards from this deck to kind of...
Just going back to that, what I would say is something that people have been ill a lot. There's been people I know, there's so much exhaustion. I just had COVID. I've been so tired lately.
Me too.
And the spring can't come quick enough. It's like when I'm looking at that card now, and I haven't, maybe it's because I don't know why, but I'm really yearning for that light to come through. That's how I feel when I'm looking at that card right now. Same. It's like, I want that energy. I want, I want this sort of murkiness of whatever's been happening lately to pass. It's
and even literally murkiness of like, just give us warmer weather and
even that
shine and just a little bit of more lightness. It's happening, but I also noticed how many of the, as I said, clients and friends just feeling this like tension, exhaustion. And I was laughing that spring equinox shouldn't be called equinox because it's nothing to do with equal, like everybody feels exhausted from spring coming over, but it's like maybe that encourages us to work towards the balance. So let's see, what does the tarot deck says? Should I pull 3 cards or 1 card just to see?
It's like up to you. I don't know where we are with time.
Are we okay? We don't
okay
have to stress out, but
before we finish, it would be nice just to mention the connections between some of the cards that have never been, no one's been told about it.
Oh yeah, so okay, so let's finish the reading and then we talk about this. And Candy is here and she says hello. Do you know Candy from
No, I don't think so.
You don't know these British people, Melanie and Candy, they all like your neighbors.
Hi neighbors. I'm glad they're with us.
Yeah,
I'm glad you're with us if you're.
And Candy has a beautiful YouTube channel and she is such great at editing videos. Candy, I'm admiring you forever for your ability to just make them still interesting. So Okay, so this is our over theme, noir, which, yeah, we just spoke about. And then maybe how can we draw on this little bit more light? That's what we want to know from tarot, right? Like, how can we connect to that light without disregarding the noir, the night of the dark night of the soul, but like, where can we find some hope? Yeah, can we go with this?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to pull one card. The Hierophant.
Oh,
It's not giving us some easy answers. Maybe the lesson is the darkness.
the darkness in itself is a lesson. And
Yeah.
as I said, you know, that we have that's the thing, that we have to allow those difficult feelings to emerge. Unfortunately, it's really tough, but actually that's where the light comes from. It's by going.
And I also feel like, you know, with the keys and with just the traditional take on Hierophant, that it might be helpful to have some practice in place. If it's a religion, or if it's your spiritual practice, or if it's something that, you know, can kind of back you up spiritually or energetically at this time, so that you know that this is going to pass. Like like everything changes, right? So even noir, the night of the soul, it's not staying here forever, but it's definitely teaching us some important lesson. And maybe it is teaching us as a lesson about our own embodied spirituality, and not only something like repetitive prayers or something that's very superficial, because that's not going to hold you when shit hits the fan. So
No.
like, what is your spiritual belief? Or like, what do you believe? Go.
Something I really like is, because I was really looking at the gold light coming through noir, and then I just noticed that reflected in the keys, you know, the gold light emerging there. And it's like, yeah, we have to unlock, you know, unlock that light through learning, and maybe through guidance, as you say, through whatever religion you choose, or maybe even a teacher, you know, maybe actually get advice or go and see someone who can offer you support or encouragement, and just guide the way a little bit, you know, hold the torch for you a little bit.
Totally, yeah. And I always ask, like, when, like, sometimes when I do readings for people, you know, if I use Tarot de Marseille or something, like, always ask like what they relate to more. Do they feel more like the person on the pedestal? Do they feel more like the students who wants to ask questions, or somebody who comes to a specialist of some sort, or to a person who knows to ask, like a teacher or a doctor, or, you know, a lawyer, whatever it can be, or a spiritual teacher? And people sometimes speak different, you know, they at different stages. So sometimes you feel more like a student, sometimes you feel more like you're sharing at this moment, or, you know, like you have the knowledge, and sometimes you feel like both. Sometimes you feel like none. Did I make it easier for you guys? Anyway, yes. So darkness is the key to open the doors, says Candy, and darkness is still a messenger. Exactly.
I love that line. You know, that that's what I love, actually, that line there. I love having, when I do a reading for myself, I just like that one line takeaway.
Yeah, exactly, because that's enough sometimes. That's what you need to get, and that takes you over. And so now you tell us about this stuff that nobody kind of, you didn't mention in you didn't mention it anywhere.
No, it's not been mentioned. No.
What is it? Tell us. But do you have the cards? No?
Yeah. So the thing is, when towards the end of creating the files to go off the print, I got a little bit busy with looking at some of our designs, and Melissa and I, we both tried, because we were looking at correspondences between cards. You know, really, the question really came: how are these cards working together? How do they read together? And looking through in the visual design, certain cards seem to fit together, and one of them is fantasy. And you see this line here. So one of our ideas, we always at the originally, you know, like the I know you have this deck, the deck of the path, or something like this. It's beautiful.
Yes, Tarot Droga.
Yes, the Tarot Droga. I love the way that path moves through, and I've always liked the way that you can have these kind of links between cards. So inspired by that, in part, I should say. These two cards go together. So that's fantasy. Got them the wrong way around.
It's good.
Oh no, fantasy fits together with obsession. So you see that tail, it becomes whole.
Yeah, the tail is on the top, and then also this line connects. Yeah.
So fancy. So the Sphinx here, he's a really rigid thinker. He's kind of always got his mind set on that which is not possible to know. You know, it's the mysteries of the Sphinx, and he's, you know, he never moves. He's solid, and his concentration is a little bit too rigid. He's never really in the moment, or there's no movement with him, and it wraps around the chimera, which the chimera is full of fancy. He's got so many ideas. He's all over the place, fantastical, and he's not grounded. The idea in this one card is that if you bring those energies together, then you can really create something out of it. It's not fantasy anymore. You can really build something. So it's a really nice card for creatives. But when it's connected with obsession, it's like that fantasy and delusion. It can really, you know, there's as we put it earlier, there's kind of like the meaning of the card is kind of exaggerated with this sort of sense of obsession, being sort of fixated on something so much that you can't really see the wood for the trees. You can't, you're not in the moment, and you're not really getting, you're just binding yourself in not the best way. So there's those two. So that's never been revealed, and no one's, maybe people have found it, I don't know. I hope so.
Yeah. That's really cool.
They're just sneaky.
Hi, Victoria. Victoria joined. That's your name. Victoria is a guest, and Victoria just joined in. It's a friend of mine.
Hi, Victoria. Hi. Nice.
So, do you have any other examples for
yes, there's a bigger one. There's one which has 5 cards. And
can you even hold it?
But there's this one, wands, which I won't go into now. I'll come, but there's wands in the deep, and they kind of, now one thing I can say about this card, it's an unusual card, but he's actually an old god that brought intelligence from matter, brought life from matter. You have to read more about that. It's quite an involved card, but you can also call him the magician. He makes stuff out of matter, you know.
And that's, I think, the under keyword is the magician, right? The secondary keyword.
The secondary keyword is the magician, yeah. But it's kind of about having control. He's a meditating magician, and with the deep, it's kind of like there's a real power of concentrate. Is again of the mind, a real sense of, you know, almost like I get emperor vibes with this, a real sense of control over your sort of mind and domain, and that you can really, and then you have the potential perhaps of the fool, and the magician is able to materialize that which you imagine. So those cards are quite nice together, and it's simply connected because we've got these
okay
but this one is the one that I'm quite excited about. So we talked about the veil earlier. We talked about that being the sun, but then we have this card constriction, and as soon as we put them together, if I can get them correctly, the sun becomes the moon, kind of. And if we put another card there, turmoil, we might, and there's 2 more cards that go on this, but I can't hold them all. If we put this here,
okay,
and what we start having, a secondary title for the constriction is the snake goddess, and it's she who has the power but doesn't quite know how to use it yet. And in conjunction, you kind of see this woman sort of unraveling from a snake skin, almost. So there's kind of ideas and concepts we were playing with this. Because Melissa and I had lots of sort of excitable emails between us about what this all meant, and I would love people to explore and to find their meanings in the cards. The book helps to do that if you want to learn something more to bring into, but you can also, you know, Redon always wanted, he said that the viewer, the meaning will unfold for the viewer who knows how to look, or something like this. So, but he really wanted people to use their own intuition.
I'm going to give us a divinatory meaning and message now from the book.
Oh, okay.
So you tell the page, or do you remember the pages? No, you don't. Huh? I say the page 72, and you say the line.
And I say the line.
The line, like, which number? Which line should I read?
Oh, okay. Oh, I see. So I say a number. Let's say
Just don't say 20, just say it up to 10, from 1 to
All
10.
right, 7. It's my lucky number.
7, okay. 1, we of course have wildness, the shadow, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Condition for any kind of self-knowledge. That's the line.
Oh, well, is that the condition? No, that's the condition for the oracle. That kind of makes sense to me.
It's actually the quote by Carl Jung. So I'm going to read the whole thing. I'm going to read the whole thing. It says, the shadow is a moral problem that challenges the whole ego personality. Because we're talking about the shadow card, about the wildness. Do you have it out? You can maybe show it while I read this.
I'll find it. You read.
So the shadow is a moral problem that challenges the whole ego personality, for no one can become conscious of the shadow without considerable moral effort. To become conscious of it involves recognizing the dark aspects of the personality as present and real. This act is the essential condition for any kind of self-knowledge. So the act of recognition of our dark aspects of personality as present and real. So this card has to do, and the secondary keyword is the shadow. Yes,
that's correct. Yeah. Yes,
I like the secondary keyword. So I really think now you really made me even more excited to go deeper with the book, because I think I just kind of skipped over it, to be honest. And
I should say about the book is constructed in such a way that you can there's a quick card finder at the front, so you can just use it to have lengthy meanings. You will end up reading a little bit about Redon's biography, which is connected to the meaning of the card, put into a contemporary situation sometimes. So you can do that, but if you read through the whole of the book, there's kind of a progression through a progression that takes you through individuation in a way, and you see how that worked. That happened for Redon as well. So you go through the stages of the Dark Night, then you go through the stage after that, which is Heart Matters, the idea that the heart is like a container where healing begins, and then you go through a yellowing stage, which is that of the learning from the heart emerges as pure intellect. And then the final section, which is the expanded self, which is the self which is connected, it's individuated and connected to spirit, which is where we see Redon, in this narrative, we see Redon leave his noirs, never to do another noir again after 1900s, and only to create these beautiful colours, which is in the Lonely Dreamer Tarot.
Hi, Saskia. So people are joining in. We kind of nearly finished here, but I wanted to mention that, so can we call it Oracle of Individuation? Because it kind of follows.
Yeah, you could do. I mean, I know that, it's this Oracle doesn't have privilege to that, because we can do that with so many, but yeah, I mean, that was really in the mind, that's in the intention when we created that deck. Absolutely. Of course you can do that with other decks, but if this suits, this can work very well for someone who resonates with this artwork. And I know it's not for everyone, but just we're proud of it. It's a beautiful deck.
Yeah, it's an amazing deck, and as I said, I think Hetien, the one who created the Mysteries of Mary tarot decks.
Yes. I love her decks. I'm yet to have one of those. It's on my
one of her favorite decks of all time.
Oh, that's really lovely. Thank you, Hetien.
Yeah, she loves it.
I'm very flattered.
I think on the production beauty, just this deck is 10 out of 10 for me as well. It's so well made. I'm just one of these people that I have to be in the mood to use his artwork. It's nothing to do with the deck. It's just his art per se. I'm just really responsive to his art. So sometimes it just puts me in the weird space and I'm like, no, guy, go away.
This one, I think of you, I mean, as well as Chiron, this one, no, not this one, not out. Ophelia.
Ophelia,
because this is all about women's wisdom, actually, because this is Ophelia from Shakespeare. And Ophelia is actually a woman who doesn't have any agency. Other people speak for her. And the only way she actually manages to find herself and connect with herself is she speaks through kind of
YouTube. I'm joking.
She uses the metaphor of flowers. Completely different. Crash that card with YouTube.
I just thought I'd make a joke while you're connecting flowers.
We need some jokes. We need some jokes with Redon's deck, actually. I should have had some lined up for us.
So she uses the metaphor of flowers to speak, yeah?
She does, yeah. And so this one, it's about, beautiful. In the book, there's some it gives you the poem from Shakespeare, and it explains what each of those flowers mean. The flowers are actually in the hair. That's where the gold is. But there's a suggestion that you might work with herbal oracle. If that card comes up, it would be really good to work with herbal decks. And I know that you like.
Yeah, I wished I picked this one, but no, I had to pick more.
It would be nice because then you can just bring them all down. But if you don't have a herbal deck, then it could be floral essences. Yeah,
exactly. I just wanted
images.
To say, like I have all these floral essences standing here, or my oils made from plants, so definitely here. So Ophelia is beautiful. And also on like usual like, artwork, when people paint Ophelia, she's always like lying in water surrounded by flowers, right? Like rarely it's just water. Yeah.
Interesting, as I say in the book as well, Redon had a real love affair for both women and mountains. He said, which world is better, women or mountains? And as you can see in Ophelia, it's both.
Yeah. So here's
in his eyes, it's a card of beauty. Yeah, there she is.
Gorgeous in the book.
And if you see many of his portraits of women in the later pastels and oils always have a lot of flowers, and it's because for him women were very connected to their sensuality. Now this was all a good thing because there were many groups at the time, and Isis, the cult of Isis, which was very interested in connecting, that men were better if they connected with their female sides and if they could express their sensitivity, and androgyny was really admired as well. So there was, it's all a little bit more in the book, but just briefly, it relates to that too.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. But I just see the first flower is rosemary, and it's about remembrance. And this is my plant cards for the month of March. So I've got rosemary cards here.
Oh, lovely.
Of course. And I'm just wondering, there's another rosemary image which I love. And this one comes from the astrological, what is it called? The Herbal Astrology Oracle. And look at this one. And I was just so fascinated with this one because it holds a wand. And you know how I used to make those crystal wands? So I pulled some of my old wands, and yeah, she's like remembrance. But I'm, again, like, that's what I said, like, about myself. Like, I'm one of those people, like, when I made wands, I made wands. Now I can't make wands. Like, they're just not coming through me. I can't make them, I can't make them happen. This is the one that I made for myself just because I felt deep need for something like that I wanted to hold. So this came like at some point around winter solstice, I think. But other than that, I didn't even glue the amber on or anything like this. But that just reminded me when I pulled it for the month of March, when I saw it.
And rosemary, what is it? So it's from remembrance as well. So ancient
remembrance, and here it says ancient memory. Yeah. So
I received the language of the earth today, which I think it's a friend of you, another Victoria or a Vicky.
Oh, Vicky from Australia. I actually know her. She's one of my friends that I met and hang out with, and yeah.
I had to get it in the end. I pulled, my first pull was ancestral healing, I think.
Oh yeah.
So I was thinking about remembrance, and
yeah, I wish, like, there is just the postage to Poland is so expensive, and
to the UK since we did the Brexit thing.
Yeah,
it's got really hard for us as well. Have you noticed how the light's gone? I've still got this light in front of me, but I'm now really spooky. I'm like one of Redon's images. I'm just a face floating in this darkness. So that's what I can see anyway.
Wait,
I've
let me just finish this glass of wine. You become lighter and lighter
Yeah.
as I go.
Yeah.
Oh, how are you guys doing? Let me know, whoever is in the chat, if you feel like sharing, if you guys also feel like March was really a tiring month for you, or are you happy and fresh as a pea? I'm curious, because from my perspective, when I talk to my friends and from my clients, yeah, everybody seems to be a little bit on the heavier side of things in March, which I'm curious how you're going. Yeah, Candy says that UK is awful. Yeah, the postage.
Is that for postage or for weather or both?
I think Candy was meaning the weather, the postage.
Yeah.
Maybe that's there too.
It's just, it's another grey. We get a little hint of blue sky. It's probably similar in Poland. A little hint of blue sky, and you feel it's like that card, a little bit of hope, and then it's grey again.
Yeah, we actually had quite good few days, a lot of sun. Like yesterday was really warm, like 15 degrees or something. Today a bit colder, but a lot of sun, and it feels springy. But yeah. Oh, Candy says she can't even remember what fresh feels like. Oh, Candy, I'm going to pull you one card from another deck. Wait for it, Candy. I'm going to pull a card from this Power of the Yin Oracle.
Yes.
And Candy, this is a message for you. And whoever feels like they don't remember what fresh feels like anymore, this is, guys, for you as well.
I'm going to try it with the Oracle door. It wouldn't necessarily be one that you would reach for freshness.
You probably pull something really beautiful and light, but I'm not going to pull, because what I pull probably for Candy will be like, die now and don't get up ever. Is there a card like this? Maybe that would be noir.
No, there's always a gold lining in all of the cards.
Okay, Candy, this is for you from the Power of the Yin Oracle deck, which is not ready yet, but I have just 17 cards of it. Okay, you, Victoria, go first.
Chiron.
Oh, it's Chiron.
I say Chiron, is it? I should say Chiron.
I mean, I don't know how you really call it Chiron in English, but maybe it's, in its original, what is it, Greek, or is it, who knows how it's pronounced? Saskia, aren't you Greek? Well, how would you pronounce Chiron? Is it Chiron? Is it Chiron? Is it, like, definitely in Greek, people wouldn't say Chiron.
So for me, for Chiron, so for freshness, then it would be going through a phase of self-healing and possibly undertaking a new study, seeking a mentor. So
I think
to identify
a lot of healing.
So yeah, so freshness might be coming from mastering a new skill or a new form of self-expression. So I think on that question, that's what this oracle would tell you to do.
Okay, so Saskia says Chiron would be how we would say it, I think, because that's how she spelled it. So I don't know. I don't think it's Chiron. I think it's Chiron. Yeah. How you see it, you just read it. In Polish, you would read Chiron as well. In English, we say Chiron, but that sounded quite nice when you were saying Chiron.
Oh, I often say, sometimes you see things, and I think it's because of knowing French, maybe that makes me sort of Frenchify it a little bit.
Yeah. Hi, Anne, and how, Susan? We're kind of finishing off, but I can't let go yet because I still have some wine left. So if I'm getting a little bit tipsy, guys, well, cheers to all of you who don't drink like Victoria.
Well, it's such a tease because I've just given up for Lent. Not long to go though.
Is it
that
just
would be just until then, and then a nice, I'm imagining a beautiful bottle of expensive wine to make up for not having anything for the while.
My husband doesn't drink, like, I don't know if he didn't set a goal, but he just doesn't feel like drinking. So for now, he doesn't drink for a couple of months now, and I'm just like a solitary drinker. So I had to do a YouTube live to like go, okay, I'm going to have a glass of wine with people. So anyway, Candy, this is more. Oh, somebody else also said that so tired, but much is happening. So to answer our question back then, because it's a bit of a delay, but I'm going to pull a card for Candy, who couldn't remember what fresh feels like, and for anybody who's really tired. So that's for us in general. So again, from the Power of the Yin Oracle, are you ready? Steady, go. Oh, your voice, it's called.
It looks very fresh, beautiful.
Wow, but what comes to mind to me is like, you're not alone. So whoever feels really shit, like, remember, there's more of us that can join. But I feel also like there is this need maybe to like speak up or feel or, cry or just give
roar. How about roar?
Yeah.
Maybe if you roar, you'll feel fresh. You'll have a sense of, when you release something and you kind of get a zing.
So now, hi, Anne. So now, Candy, this is for you. And I'm just going to read this little poem for Candy, but also for anybody who feels they resonate with this image and with what we're talking about. I do. So it says, your voice, to speak and be heard. The howl of a wolf in the woods, echoing, declaring, here I am. The roar of a lioness across the grasslands. Are you a Leo, Vicky?
Yes, you know.
The roar of a lioness across the grasslands. There is no mistaking who she is or what she is about. Open your throat and roar. Lift your voice and howl. Be heard as you are. Magnified, magnificent. Candy, can you just roar for us? Even though we can't hear it, but I wish it was like interactive. Yeah, howl, roar, and speak. 3 voices. Exactly, Candy. That might help you to feel fresher, my friend. And for anybody who feels like this, including myself, I'm going to roar. I'm not drunk yet, guys. I'm not. What else? Anything else, Vicky? Because we're finishing on this like crazy note.
I feel like we're coming to a conclusion, unless anyone had any questions.
Yeah, does anybody have any questions along the lines? You have the co-creator of Oracle Door, Victoria, the writer of the book. So if you have any questions about the deck, you can ask us, or if you in general have any questions, or if you want to just share something, then please share while I still have some red wine in my glass, because once I finish.
I love the way this is your timer. So it's just, it's like the hourglass.
Yeah, it's like
the hourglass timer.
We're nearly there.
It's a great way to measure the length of a live video.
And I drank very, slow. You saw I didn't really overdo it, and I didn't pour much, because I watched one of my old lives and I felt like, oh my God, I'm actually getting tipsy like at the end of it. And I was just like pouring wine, talking to people, showing decks. Like when I finished, like my room looked like just some storm just went through it, all these decks on my bed and everywhere on the table. It was really funny. But yeah.
I just realized just while you're drinking your wine and if you've got any questions, I didn't mention Crystal Haven's pouches, which came with the deck. Well, they didn't come with, you had to purchase them extra. But I just have to say how beautiful they are again. I've got a whole bunch of them now.
They are. I was so fucking excited when you sent this to me.
She made that one specially for you. No one else has that.
And they so
I know that was a cassia.
And that's also she's in the UK, right? It's Crystal Heaven.
Yeah, she's UK as well. She's up north on a farmstead somewhere. Cool. It's a lovely name of where she lives, but I can't remember what it's called.
Look at the owl.
She made this was an old edition, and she made it specially for me because when I work with cards or whatnot, I've noticed I've got owl. Can you see my feathers here?
Yeah, I can.
These are there's a golden eagle feather here, and there's a Siberian owl. feathers. So I have all these owl things, and I think when I'm spiritually, I'm connecting with owls at the moment. Yeah. So yeah, so she made this one for me, but she's great. She's creating some beautiful pouches, but they work really well.
Yeah, Candy says, finish with wine and roaring, no questions, just a thank you. And Anne said that she's simply loving Victoria's deck. It's a perfect and beautiful oracle, probably my favorite. Oh.
Thank you so much. Thank you. That's so
many just that express yourself, let it out. I think that's definitely a great advice for feeling like when you feel stuck. Actually, I always think of like shouting meditation or something, like when you actually go somewhere when you can't be heard, and yeah, like motivating yourself to make a noise or a voice, or just like just get it out. It doesn't have to be a word, doesn't have to have a meaning. Just, I think that's really moves the energy around. That's why sound medicine is so good. Yeah, what do you have?
On voice, you had Ophelia, and there is something here which...
Oh, you're a singer, cool.
It says, so, and we had 2 drowned. So Ophelia was drowned, as was the character in the noir card. And then we have here, being the drowned one allows you to attune to the world around you and listen to your inner voice. Imagine the sound of your heartbeat when you lie underwater. What moves you? What is holding you back? To find the seed of your voice, look at yourself from another perspective. Try to define yourself in the third person. Articulate your words and record them. Ask, what drives this person? What holds them back? When do they hold their tongue? And on what occasions could they be more outspoken? Through these activities, watch and see how your singular voice grows. Oh. So that's a slow roar, I think. The process.
I like it.
Maybe.
There's a question, how do we find the deck? Is it sold on Etsy?
Yeah, it's on Etsy.
Is this the best way to get it? And
yeah, it's through. I had some, but I've sold them all, my personal copies now, because there were, it's because I'm in the UK. It's good for people. I sold one to Masha of Maria Tarot, which will come out soon.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, it's coming. Yeah, so Etsy, and it's the Lonely Raven.
I'm going to link it below. So yeah, I'm going to
do that.
A website to, the Etsy link. People also ask, like Gourmet Knitters ask how to find you. Are you only on Instagram or?
I'm on Instagram. I'm not very active.
It's not, but you can contact
me. You can connect me. Yeah, you can contact me. It's Tora Tockett.
Yeah, I'm going to link it below.
Yeah.
As well, but I probably link it when we're finished and when it uploads to YouTube. So
sure.
Unless you want to share the link now, if you have it.
I don't have the means to do it.
Yeah.
If you
me neither.
Yeah. And if anyone wants to contact me or ask any questions or, whatever it is at all, I'm
yeah. And I have to say, I'm very proud of you, Victoria, because I'm going to make a joke, which we always make with my other British friends. I just say it like this. And there is a joke that British people don't know how to promote themselves. They very kind of shy to come on camera. I was trying for years to get Linda. Oh my God, is it Linda Hill? What am I talking about?
Yeah, Linda Hill of Red Seeds. I think it's Linda Hill.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Linda Hill. Yeah. Linda Hill from the Red Seeds Oracle. I'm like, come on interview. I want to ask you questions. I fucking love your decks. Talk to me. She's like, no.
Well, I did it, and I felt Linda, do it, because once you're talking and Cassie is drinking wine, you don't even know that you're live.
Exactly, it's easy. So are you going to make them available in UK? Somebody's asking, maybe at boutique.
Yeah, there's not enough. I don't. Yeah, there's no plans to, but I mean, if I had a lot of inquiries, I might get a bunch over and just sell them through contacting me.
I think also with boutique, that would probably be a question to boutique itself. It's the cut.
Oh, boutique, yeah. Yeah, I mean,
I probably make the decision about it.
They haven't approached me. I mean, it's possible. I'm open to it. I'd have to get a bunch sent over from Canada, I think, but it's possible.
Yeah, Candy says, yes, please get them into the boutique. or Little Red Tarot. It's another shop in the UK that's like independent decks. I think it's would be great for British people. I wish like England was still in Europe, because
I know, me too.
It wasn't such a pain in the ass to send something between our countries. Now you guys further away than the States. It feels like you fucking, I don't know, in another continent.
Yeah, we're kind of like, it's like we're on the moon suddenly. Like, what happened? Like, there's all these forms that you have to fill in for everything now. It never happens. I don't know what the benefits are of Brexit. I don't know what they are.
Yeah.
I mean, I probably sound a bit ignorant saying that, but I mean, I don't personally see them. There's more complication in my own life rather than and other friends' life, because I have so many friends who have got partners who are European, you know, and it's upset their families and being able to travel, you know, and the whole thing with Ireland as well. I mean, well, that's a whole nother subject, which I'm not an expert on by any means.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of people from the UK, so that's interesting. See? You have to show yourself. You miss Leo. Roar. So I think the wine is nearly over. Is there anything else, Victoria, that you would like to share? Something, I don't know.
Well, I would just like to say thanks very much for having me on, for encouraging me to do this. And thanks for everyone who's live with us, and for your questions and comments as well. It's been lovely to have you all with us. It's a shame. I would like to see faces, but
I know that would be really cool to come on, like that people can be live on Zoom as well. And we mute you guys, but then we could unmute you and you could just chat with us. That would be cool. I know that sometimes people do it like this live Zoom meetings. I'm really thinking of doing it like once a month or something, but maybe probably through Patreon or something. I don't know. I'm just
it's a good idea. Something like that might be a good idea.
I don't think I would like to do it on the like weird platform when everybody can come in. Like no, but I mean, I don't know. Maybe yes. Who knows? And I'm not calling YouTube a weird platform. It's a good platform. I'm enjoying it, but anybody can join. So it's like you never know who is going to, you know.
Yeah, you want to have a good energy in the group, and you know, maybe it's a registration process.
Yeah. All right. So people saying thank you. The red wine is finished. Ta-da, done. I'm not drunk. I'm actually really kind of Candy, I feel freshness. So another way to actually lift your heaviness is to have a glass of red wine.
Into promoting wine brands now, Cassia. You should have like an advert in the middle that stops with these beautiful wines from Poland or something.
Yeah, or we don't have too many, but I can. This one was actually from Croatia, and it's a really great wine because it's called Dingach, and it's the grapes are grown on the really sunny side of the hills, and there is like just hills and the sea. So it has just special minerals in the earth, and it's like has a lot of sun. So the grapes are really potent. So this wine is quite like heavy.
Robust.
Yeah. Kind of like Shiraz type of wine, like, you know, it just gets a lot of flavor.
Yeah.
But Candy says that's outrageous and funny. I want to meet Candy on live. Candy, we should do a live together, and we're going to watch you drink wine, and I'm going to be trying to be cool then, and just I'll be the serious one.
Yeah, I'm just surprised I'm not salivating because, you know, given up everything, and I would love a glass.
It's so funny.
You know, maybe better that we're both not.
We not promote alcoholism, by the way.
My first live or my first appearance on YouTube.
You've done really great. I'm very proud of you. We both did well. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I'm going to say really goodbye now. Thank you, Victoria, for joining in and for going with it and doing creating this beautiful oracle deck with Melissa Witherspoon. So hi, Melissa, if you end up watching it.
Yes, I can't believe we didn't say hello. Decks. Hi, Melissa.
And thank you, everybody who stuck up and stayed with us. Thanks, guys. We're going to say bye now.